in this video, I'll talk about how you can truly arouse a woman and why women get truly aroused only with men who can hold emotional leverage. Now, let's examine and let's imagine a classic example. You have a nice guy who is doing all the right things, saying nice things to the girl, and yet the girl is not turned on by some reason. And most guys, they think that for them to turn on a woman, they need to make a lot of money, they need to be very strong, and they're essentially thinking of the traditional power. So things like money, strength, and traditional power, those things don't turn women on. And a lot of you are making this super big mistake of trying to get those things and thinking that this is how you're going to attract and arouse women. But in this video, I'll talk about why those things actually do the opposite thing and how really you can turn them on with emotional leverage. And most guys, they don't even know what that is. Most guys have no clue what that is when I say emotional leverage, because all they've been taught to do and all they've been doing for their entire lives is just trying to make more money and become stronger. So in this video, I'll talk about what it is. I'll give you a specific definition. I'll talk about why women like it, why most men actually end up losing it. So they're not only they actually lose the emotional leverage to women, and how to get emotional leverage. So first of all, let's talk about the definition. So what is the definition of leverage in general? So leverage is just the ability to influence people. So the ability to influence people, their actions, and get a specific outcome. So that's the definition of a simple leverage. Now, the interesting thing is that in most relationship dynamics and in most romantic scenarios, women are the one that hold the leverage. To give you an example, let's imagine example number one. You really have a girl that you like a lot, and for some reason she's not responding that much, and then she calls you in the middle of the night to tell you that she wants you to come over to her place. Will you do it? Most likely, yes. Most men will drop everything and they'll go to the woman's place, and because of that, women have a lot of leverage because they can get you to do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't be able to get them to do. So that's the example number one. The example number two is, let's say that a girl that you like, again, she flakes on you or she cancels on you 3 times, and the 4th time she says, well, now I can make it. And most guys, if they really like the girl, they'll just let it be and they will accept and they'll go on a date with this girl. Again, a girl can cancel, do all this shit, and they still hold the leverage because they can get you to do what they want you to do. Now, why do women actually hold most of the leverage? Have you actually thought about the fact that why are women the ones that are holding leverage? We've sort of accepted that in our society and in the romantic setting. So why that is? So there's a few different reasons. The biological reason is, if you think about that, women are born with finite eggs, right? Like they're born with finite eggs and they lose them over their course of their lives, but they're finite. So they don't reproduce more eggs while men continuously produce sperm. So they have a finite resource, we have an infinite resource, and hence they have to protect that resource. That's pure biology. So they become, we call selectors, and we become pursuers. And hence women end up having and holding more emotional leverage. Now, culture actually amplifies this. So if you look at the modern culture, you go on Tinder, women have all the different options, they get all the different matches, everyone knows the example, while guys are scraping for attention. So modern culture actually amplifies it. And because of the biology, because of the modern culture, women just end up controlling a lot more emotional leverage. Now, why is that bad for their arousal? Because even though it's a really big paradox, because women, on one hand, they like holding the emotional leverage, it's safe for them, but their arousal actually goes down when they hold the emotional leverage. Now, why is that? Why is that? So when they're holding emotional leverage, that means that it creates safety for them. They're safe. they can be in control, so they're safe, and that might release oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical, but it doesn't arouse them. And if you think about a classic scenario, the nice guy scenario, so you have a guy that basically is going to do whatever the girl tells him to do. It's not going to be challenging, and girl can just tell him what she wants. The guy will follow. That will create a lot of, so that means that the girl is holding emotional leverage, and they will label this guy a nice guy, a predictable guy, like a good friend, right? And this is the classic example of a friend zone. Why does that happen? Well, because they're not turning them on. They can hold the emotional leverage. Women are holding the emotional leverage. They feel safe, but they don't feel aroused. And this is the classic example, the nice guy, because safety means comfort. And while you do need comfort for the arousal, it's a prerequisite. If you only have safety and you only have comfort, you're not going to arouse a girl. What does create arousal is dopamine and adrenaline, right? You do need dopamine and adrenaline. If you're just doing safety and oxytocin, that's not enough, right? Like you need, oxytocin is good, as we talked about in other videos, like for the bonding, but you need uncertainty and, you need dopamine and adrenaline if we're talking about chemicals. So that's why just being nice is not enough. And if we talk about another example, you've probably heard many women say, oh yeah, he was a great guy, but I just didn't feel spark. In other words, what the girl is saying, that she wasn't turned on by the guy. So it's a very interesting paradox, right? Because while the guy is a nice guy, the girl perceives him to be a nice guy. Actually, the girl holds most leverage, and she doesn't want to hold this emotional leverage. She wants the guy to hold emotional leverage so she can be aroused. If you only have comfort, that kills arousal. Comfort is a requisite. Like, she needs to be comfortable enough for her to be aroused. But if she only has comfort and nothing else, that will kill the arousal. So what she really needs to feel for her to be aroused is she needs to surrender, right? She needs to release control. And this is why most women, they prefer guys that can dominate. Obviously, you have some other scenarios, but for the most part, women like to surrender. They like the guy to take the lead. What is interesting, that women who is in control and women who is turned on cannot really coexist. Again, you do have some exceptions, but for the most part, control and turned on cannot coexist as the same states. Because for her to be really turned on, she needs to be okay with releasing control. And even with a lot of alpha women, they also like to release control. They want to meet the guy that can take control from them. So in most cases, really in most cases, they need to feel this surrender. They want to surrender. And that's when they really can get turned on. And if they're going to hold the emotional leverage, they're not going to be able to be turned on. So that's why their arousal goes down if they're holding emotional leverage. Now, let's talk about the wrong way to get emotional leverage and how most guys try to get emotional leverage. So as I said, classic guy is with money, right? So he thinks, okay, I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to be a millionaire, a billionaire, and that will suddenly I'm going to be in control. I'm going to be a powerful man, and women are going to be aroused. Now, what ends up happening is you have, and this is a really, really common example because I've heard a lot of women talk about this, is you have a guy that actually brags about how much money he has. So he might do it in a very conspicuous way, just saying, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I made $1 million last year. He might do it in a bit of a less conspicuous way, just wearing big watch or telling the girl that he will pick her up and then coming in a really nice car. I mean, girls can notice these things. And what is interesting is that most girls in this situation, when a guy is conspicuously trying to show off wealth, they will actually be turned off. So it is doing the opposite effect. So they're going to be turned off. Now, maybe some guys are not going to do it in such a try-hard bad way. They're going to try a bit more subtle. And money in itself, so if you do it in a good way, in a subtle way, trying to show off how much money you have, That might give you respect from women. That might give you even admiration because they're going to respect that you have earned all of this money, but it's not going to give you the arousal. So it's not, money doesn't arouse. It can give you some things, but it's not going to give you arousal. Again, it might give you respect, admiration, but it's not going to get women aroused. Now, looks is another interesting thing because a lot of guys think, well, I'm just going to become super hot like a Greek god, and women are just going to be naturally attracted to me. It doesn't create emotional leverage. And what is interesting is that looks, yes, it can spark interest, right? Like you can get interest from a woman, but it cannot contain arousal for a large period of time. And what is even interesting is that looks can work against you. Paradoxically, it can work against you. And the classic example is a guy who's very hot and the girl is interested to talk to him, and then he opens his mouth and either sounds very stupid or he sounds very insecure and shy, and then the girl loses a lot of attraction. Again, this is such a classic example that a lot of women have told me, and I think this is pretty well known, that this can work against you because physically you're strong, but emotionally you're weak. And if a girl sees you emotionally weak, it doesn't matter how much muscle you have because she knows that you will not be able to hold emotional leverage. And that is the classic example. Now, let's finally talk about how do you actually get emotional leverage and how do you become and get the state where women can actually be turned on by you, because that's the most important thing. So the first thing, I've listed 3 different reasons for me, or different ways that I've been able to get emotional leverage and that has worked for me. So number 1 is being a leader. So taking control. Even sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, you gotta take control and you gotta act like you know what you're doing. So a classic example is a date, right? Like you show up on a date, and if a girl asks you, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? If you say, I don't know, what do you want to do? That's the worst example or worst thing that you can do. And I can think about now the girl that I'm seeing or the past girls that I've been seeing. Every time I ask them out, they ask me, what do you want to do? Like, what is it? What do you want to do? The question is, what do I want to do? But the real question is, are you ready to take control? Are you ready to take control of the situation? And I always say, okay, let's go here, let's do this. So even if you don't know where you want to go, you can say, I mean, in this specific example, you can say, okay, let's go to that area because there are a few bars there that might be good, right? That's better than saying, I don't know, what do you want to do? And the thing is that some guys, they don't take any control, but some guys also, they force it too much. And a girl might say, oh, let's check it out there. And they've been told by other coaches, like, never let a girl make a decision. So if she goes there, you got to go the other way. No, like, dude, you don't have to force it, right? So you can also, like, if she makes a suggestion, go do that suggestion. But in general, the rule that I like to follow is that you want to be the person that cuts the cake and then she can choose it, right? You don't want to just be like, okay, let's go eat Chinese food because I want to eat Chinese food. Like, maybe she doesn't like Chinese food. So you can still offer her options, but you're the one that cuts the cake. So let's say it's a restaurant or it's a drink. So you can say, okay, we can go to this place or we can go to this place. I like this place, but what do you prefer? So you are the one that's presenting the options, you're leading, but you're also making her part of the decision. So don't just force. Don't be like, okay, leader means they're just forcing different options down her throat. No, that's try hard, and it's gonna create a lot more resistance, and it's not gonna demonstrate you as a leader. But you have to take control. The second way to gain emotional leverage is to be indifferent to her beauty, because most guys give themselves way too easily, and they're way too predictable. And women can feel this, and it definitely doesn't arouse them, and definitely doesn't give the guy emotional leverage and emotional control. So women, they like that they have to earn your approval. They have to earn your approval. So this is good because it creates tension, And if we're talking about biology, like this slight tension is going to release adrenaline into her brain, and that is prerequisite for her to be turned on. There's a bit of uncertainty, like what's going to happen. Also, she has to chase. And what do we know by chasing? Chasing releases dopamine. And again, adrenaline, so tension and adrenaline and dopamine and chase, those are the things that allow her to be turned on. So if you see a girl and she's very attractive, physically attractive, and you just jump on her like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous, you're so beautiful, and you don't even qualify her, you don't even take a step back and thinking like, do I actually like this girl? Would she be a good fit for me? And you just jump on her because she's good looking. You think you're giving her compliments and treating her like a queen, but you're actually giving her the emotional leverage, which she doesn't want. She wants you to take emotional leverage. So she actually wants to earn your approval because it's something that she usually doesn't have to do because most guys give her the emotional leverage. So you have to be indifferent to her beauty. And yes, if a girl is attractive, that is great. But what else does she bring to the table? Does she have good charisma? Does she have good personality? Is she smart? Is she intelligent? So you have to concern with these things. You cannot just jump on her and give all your power away because she's good looking. You're not doing her a service and you're not doing yourself a service. And you're actually just giving her the emotional leverage, which she doesn't want to do, doesn't want to take, and you're messing things up. And the final thing is the ability to walk away. It's huge. The ability to walk away. Most guys, they don't have the ability to walk away. If they have a attractive girl, fun girl, interested in them, they will put up with pretty much everything because they feel that it's a once in a lifetime opportunity and they cannot mess this up. And if you have the ability to walk away, and if she feels like she needs you more than you need her, it is literally the ultimate leverage. And it's the rarest gift you can give to a girl. Because think about most attractive women and guys that they see. The guys that they see live in scarcity, or rather, the guys that they see, they don't have the emotional leverage because this guy is because the girl is super attractive, she has all these options, and she's the one who decides, she's the one who controls the situation. And with those girls that are used to this dating scenario, and this scenario where the guy doesn't have any leverage or very little leverage, and the guy needs them because they're so attractive. If you can turn it around, and if you can actually be the guy that needs them less than they need them, and you can give them the rare gift of chasing you, it's incredible. This is the biggest thing you can do to gain emotional leverage. It's also the hardest, right? Because it's not easy. If you meet a really beautiful, attractive, funny girl and she's somewhat interested in you, it's not easy. But that's why it's also the best way. If you can be the guy that genuinely, and not faking it. I also don't mean faking it because a lot of guys be like, yeah, I don't need anyone. I don't want to date. I don't need anyone. I mean, those guys, that's a different category and they're just living in a denial, right? But if you genuinely can generate other options and you live in abundance and you genuinely don't need this girl because you can meet other beautiful, smart girls and she has to chase you more to get your approval and to be concerned whether or not this guy likes me. It's very rare, but that is why it's such a powerful way to gain emotional leverage. And if you can do this, if you can gain emotional leverage, now she's actually in a state, an environment where she can be turned on by you. And it's a beautiful, rare gift you can give to a girl. So, to summarize, most guys actually, as we looked at, they do the opposite thing to turn girls on. Because they do the opposite thing of getting leverage, they give away their emotional leverage. So the nice, safe, stable guy, by being nice, by being safe, by being stable, you can create trust, you can create bonding. In biological terms, you can get them to release oxytocin, but there's no dopamine, no adrenaline. Or in human terms, there's no uncertainty, there's no chase, there's no unpredictability. And if there's none of those things, and you also just give them the power away by treating them like a queen, like a lot of girls say, I want to be treated like a queen. No, they don't want to be treated like a queen. They want you to be a man and hold the emotional leverage so they can be aroused, they can surrender. It doesn't mean buying them flowers and taking them from one place, going and then taking them to another place and showing that you're all this chivalry isn't dead, all that bullshit. That doesn't get them turned on. Being overly nice doesn't get them turned on. And you gotta realize this, and you have to stop this behavior, because you're actually hurting yourself, and you are in a way disrespecting the girl that you're dating or you want to be dating, because you don't give her the gift of chasing you, and you don't give her the gift of being in an environment where she can be truly aroused. And this is a behavior that you need to avoid and you need to reverse. And in this video, we talked about how to do it. Now, of course, your question might be, okay, well, how do I get in a state where I can be a leader? Because I'm nervous, like I don't know. How do I get in a state where I can be indifferent to her beauty? Because if I see a beautiful girl and someone likes me, I get excited. And how do I get in the states where I can actually walk away because I can meet other beautiful women? Well, you have to improve your dating social skills, and you have to get abundance. And the way that I have done this is by mastering meeting women in real life and doing real life approaches, and not only generating a lot of dates with women that I choose, but also learning how to take emotional leverage and how to maintain it with attractive, beautiful women. If this is something that you would like to learn as well in a structured way, with my help, with my feedback, and other like-minded men around the world, I do run a private mentorship community. It's probably the most practical mentorship community out there when it comes to dating, because you literally go out there in your city and you interact with a woman, with me being on the phone and other guys being there as well, pushing you, cheering you on, giving you feedback, and slowly but surely you learn to be the guy that can take emotional control and create the environment where you can turn a girl on. If this is something potentially interesting to you, check out the first link in the description and book a call, and we can speak if this could be a good fit. See you soon.